1994, The Critic premiered on United States television, which was broadcasted for a total of 2 seasons on 23 episodes, as the sitcom was based off a middle-aged film critic by the name of Sherman, who was voiced by the comedian Jon Lovitz. The show was considered an in-depth comedic view of American pop culture from the early to mid-1990s. Some of the episodes featured film parodies that Jay would review for audiences from his viewership show, Coming Attractions. Some of these parodies were a musical version of Apocalypse Now, Howard Stern's End, which was an amalgamation of the 1992 film Howard's End, and the media personality of Howard Stern, Honey, I Ate the Kids, which was an amalgamation of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, released in 1989, on The Silence of the Lambs, released in 1991, The Cockroach King, which was a spoof of The Lion King, released in 1994, Abe Lincoln, Pet Detective, which was a spoof of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, released in 1994, and the United States President of Abraham Lincoln, on Scent of a Woman and Scent of a Wolfman, which was a spoof of Scent of a Woman, released in 1992. Other references mentioned in episodes were from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and The Godfather. Famous people whom were related to film that were also referred to in the episodes of the series were Orson Welles, Marlon Brando, and Dudley Moore. Due to the cartoon being that of a fictional film critic, actual American film critics such as Gene Shalit, Rex Reed, Gene Siskel, and Roger Ebert also made appearances in the show. An interesting fact is that in the early seasons of The Simpsons and The Critic were actually connected, as there were similarities at the time to both shows in the early to mid-1990s. Critics mentioned that The Critic were similar to early episodes and seasons of The Simpsons due to the humor and banter written into each episode and how easy it was for adult audiences to relate to the jokes and enjoy the laughs, but at the same time could attract younger audiences who might even happen to watch an episode. It was also mentioned more than once that The Critic was somewhat considered a spin-off to The Simpsons, once again reinforcing the notion that The Critic was somehow connected to The Simpsons, where both shows gave veiled references to criticizing the American channel of Fox, and fourth-wall references to the audience. But as mentioned, during the early to mid-1990s, there were other animated cartoons aimed at adult audiences in the United States that for one reason or another had more of an appeal to viewers, and though The Critic was well worth their time and attention as well, ratings for the cartoon quickly declined in the first season. However, during the second season, ratings slowly began to improve, but not enough for the series to continue, and it was tragically cancelled. During the cartoon's broadcasting era and slightly after the cancellation, the cartoon had mixed to positive reception from critics and audiences. But there has been a re-evaluation of the series in the years and even decades since its cancellation, due to the references to early and mid-1990s popular culture of the United States within the series. The writing and themes presented in the seasons have been considered to be exceptional, and with everything considered, it's one of the most underrated American cartoons from the 1990s. But the desire to continue The Critic from fans continued in the years shortly after its cancellation. After reruns of the episodes on channels, it gained through enough exposure and popularity and interest to be continued as a webtoon from 2000 through 2001 using computer Adobe Shockwave software. But these webisodes were nothing like the original 2 seasons of The Critic, and these web episodes are sometimes not considered part of the Critic series. Sometimes a character could be forgotten when they clearly deserved or even demanded to be remembered.